start that. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Tanushree Duggirala, and today's entire session's aim is to kind of take a look into how you should shape your thought process and all the activities that you do in high school to make sure that you're ready for college and the next steps that come beyond it. We're going to be taking a look at a lot of different things today. I'm just going to be brushing the surface of very many topics, and towards the end, I'm going to leave the biggest chunk of the time on the Zoom for kind of a question and answer. So if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat as we talk, or towards the end, we'll do a Q&A, pop it in there at that point. On the screen, I know a lot of you guys came from the WhatsApp group chat, but if you haven't already joined it, go ahead and join it. I'll be hosting sessions not just with myself, but with other college students and other professionals in the future. And if you want to be in on that loop and make sure that you're getting all of the information and updates, go ahead and follow my Instagram as well as the WhatsApp group. Both the QR codes are on the screen right now, as well as other contact information. But if you need any other questions, I can pop those in the chat later as well. All right, to start off, I just wanted to give you guys a little introduction about myself so you kind of know who's talking to you and why this session is happening. My name is Tanushree Duggirala, as I've said before, and I'm currently a rising sophomore at the University of Texas at Austin, UT Austin. I am currently double majoring in the Business Honors Program as well as Business Analytics and minoring in Anthropology with a certificate in Elements of Computing. I've been teaching not just music classes, but also SAT, college preparation, and things of this sort for the past couple of years now. And that's really because I'm someone who did a lot of self-teaching to myself during my entire high school process, and I was able to become a National Merit finalist. I graduated second in my high school class, and I was involved in a lot of student orgs and a lot of different things. And every single one has taught me that there's a very, very big gap of information when it comes to being ready for college. So I just wanted to host these sessions to give you guys a better access to all of this information and hopefully get y'all connected to other students or professionals that can help you answer the questions that you need. And today is going to be kind of a 360 overview on the entire process. All right, so in terms of what we're going to go over today, we're going to go over the term holistic admission process, and we're going to break down through that lens all the different things that you need to be looking out for during your high school years and additional details within those, as well as creating your story and what does that mean. And then we're also going to talk a couple of additional tips and then end off with the question answer and as well as a couple more contacts and info. All right, so to start off, I want to preface by saying no person's journey is the same. You're going to be able to talk to so many different people, and they're all going to show you that every person has their own unique story that gets them to where they need to be. That being said, early planning is the best planning because while no journey is the same, there are a few key benchmarks that are going to set you up for success when it comes to college planning. Now, with all this in mind, I know that a lot of people come into high school or even during their duration of high school, think that they have to know what's coming next. They have to know what major they're taking. They have to know what college they want to go into, blank, blank, and blank. However, I really want to preface this entire session by saying high school is there for exploration, and that is something that colleges know and understand. And if you're exploring, showing passion, creativity, and initiation from your end, even if you have no experience related to whatever major it is you choose in the end, you can still make it. I know so many of my peers that have, for example, gone into business or computer science without ever taking a business or computer science class in their entirety of high school or any extracurricular related to it. So with that being prefaced, it's all about the qualities that you're showing to the colleges. Are you showing that you're a go-getter? Are you showing that you're determined and you're continuing things for a long time? You're not a quitter. things like that. And because of that, be ready to explore and initiate, because no matter what it is that you do, it will help you in the long run, as long as you're putting your best foot forward. Okay, now, holistic admission process. This is a word that a lot of people, all right, sorry. This is a word that you're going to hear a lot when it comes to high school or college readiness. And as the word kind of says, holistic, right? It means that there are a bunch of different factors that the colleges are going to consider when deciding whether you get in or not. And that means you're not just basing it off of your academics or just your extracurriculars, et cetera, but they're taking a look at you from 5 to 6 different lenses. And all of those together are going to determine whether or not they're going to accept you into the college. And a thing to keep in mind is none of these are make or break. If you're kind of weak or lacking in one section, you can definitely make it up by being even more exceptional in one of the other sections. However, going into like these couple of years before college, you want to try to be very, very good and proficient in all of these different sections that I'm going to show you in the next slide. So there's 6 different things I want to talk to you guys about today. First off, you have your academic transcript. So that's how you're doing in school, your classes, your coursework, etc. Standardized test scores. So these are SAT, ACT, etc. And then we're also going to want to talk about your resume and your extracurricular activities, then your essays and personal statement, recommendation letters, and last but not least, a fit for the college. Let me pop in the chat. Okay. All right. So first off, academic planning. So I know that there's people in this call from all across the US, so I'm not going to standardize this completely when I say it. However, I'll give you examples, right? So from Texas, that's where I'm from, you have a certain quota of people that get automatic admission into colleges, depending on what your GPA and your rank in school is. And that is something that is kind of instated in different ways across different states. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is kind of understand what that benchmark is, whether that's official or unofficial. You're going to want to try to find out what is your goal? What should your goal GPA or ranking be in order for you to be in the college that you wish to see yourself in, right? But that being said, one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is that if you're not in the top 10 people in your school, or if you don't have like a 4.0 GPA, you're not going to make it to the college of your choice. However, contrary to that topic, it is about your grade progression throughout your high school. Meaning, let's say freshman year, 9th grade, I start off and I don't have exactly the most amazing grades, but I show within the next 4 years, right, that my grades are constantly improving and I'm taking more and more challenging classes and I'm pushing myself. That story is still going to narrate to the academic advisors and counselors that are reviewing your application. On top of that, it's not just your GPA that matters, but your course selections as well. So you can have a 4.0 GPA by taking all on-level classes, or you can have slightly less of a GPA by getting like, 80s or 90s in like your higher level AP or IB classes. And those AP and IB offerings, like the harder classes that you're taking, that even if you're getting less like marks or GPA in them, they're still going to be valued more because again, you're showing that initiation and your willingness to challenge yourself, which is something that's going to happen to you in college, right? So when going into course selections, this is a very big topic and you definitely want to start planning very, very early on for this. You want to not only explore what your high school has to offer. Most high schools have a course catalog, and if you can't find it, I would recommend you reach out to your counselor to get access to this document. And it usually outlines every single class that your high school offers to you. Definitely know that like the back of your hand so you know the opportunities that are waiting for you. Also, don't shy away from AP or IB credits. These are going to be your things that are going to show that you are college ready. Whether you take that exam for credit at the very end or not, they're still going to show that you're taking college level courses. And last but not least, you also want to explore community college offerings. Community college is something that is overlooked very often, but you can do something something called dual credit usually, where you can take classes at your local community college, and that's going to translate to whatever four-year university you decide to go to. And all of these also you should be doing um, with a clarity on how your target colleges are going to either accept or reject them. Not all colleges accept all of these credits, especially depending on your major and such. So I recommend that you guys go and search up core curriculum for, let's say, University of Texas at Austin or Texas, something like that, right? Depending on what state or university you want to go to, and see what courses they even accept and what scores you need in those courses for you to get accepted so that you can shape your high school courses to fit accordingly. And last but not least, also take a look at the transferable skill sets you can gain through different classes. That means not just courses for core completion or to get college credit, but what are other additional skills that you can say you've earned through your academic planning? For example, one very famous AP class duo is going to be AP Seminar and AP Research. Not all high schools offer it, but your high school might. And these are what you call capstone courses, meaning if you finish both of these courses, they're going to give you a capstone award saying that you are very proficient in research, scientific writing, etc., etc. And regardless of what major or field you go into, presentation skills, research, things of those sort can be very transferable. So in terms of these, so you want to take a look at the classes that can give you these capstones or certifications, things of that sort that are going to be helpful to you beyond just a grade or a grade point GPA. And academic planning is a very, very deep subject. And I would highly recommend that you guys are in touch with your counselors from day one so that you can fully get an understanding of where you stand in the process and how you can proceed within the next 4 years. They truly are your best friends, but they're also going to be people that respond. They don't proactively ask you because they're dealing with hundreds of students. So you need to make sure you have that proactivity and reaching out to your counselors and maintaining a good relationship with them. All right. Next, let's take a look at standardized tests. Now, before you take a standardized test, my biggest recommendation for you is going to be finding your best fit. Depending on what region you're in, most people just default take the SAT or default take the ACT. However, by the time you're in your sophomore year, right? So freshman and sophomore year, I highly recommend that you guys take at least one ACT and at least one SAT practice test, which you can definitely find online to just get a raw score and get an understanding before you prep what you're stronger at. And that's because both of these standardized tests test a very different skill set. For example, the ACT has a science section and the SAT doesn't have that. And some people argue that the SAT's math section is harder than the ACT's and vice versa. So if you take a look at both of these tests and you realize like, hey, I'm like really good at math, but I'm not that great at reading, then maybe you want to take the ACT, or the flip of that, you want to take the SAT. But you won't know that unless you try out both the tests. So biggest recommendation for you is going to be try both the tests and see what's your best fit before taking the exam. And now, second recommendation, early prep. The benchmark time that people recommend is 3 months before you take an SAT or ACT. You want to do hardcore studying. That means like, every week you're on top of it. You're doing practice tests, you're doing practice problems, you're going over the concepts. However, you don't just want to start those 3 months ahead. You want to start like slower prep, almost 6 months to a year ahead of the time that you want to take your test. And that's because you're going to make sure that you're building up your fundamental knowledge. And the SAT, especially with it turning digital now and having new types of test questions, isn't as predictable as it used to be. And because of that, you don't know what types of questions you're going to get with 100% confidence, meaning you want to be able to be strong in your fundamentals before you take that test. So my recommendation is start at least a year before the time that you're trying to take your test. And then 3 months right before your exam, that's when you hardcore, you fully lock in, you're doing test prep like every day, every other day if you can, and like focusing on that entirely. That being said, this is a big tip that I give to a lot of the students that I talk to. get your standardized testing done by the time your junior year starts. That's going to be the biggest, best favor that you can do for yourself. Junior year is notorious for being one of the hardest years in high school. And that is because you're trying to not only do good in school and your classes are getting harder, but this is when you're trying to get, I don't know, extracurriculars, internships, student clubs, orgs, and all of these things to get yourself set and prepared to apply to college the summer after. And the SAT or ACT is a very big looming deadline over your head, and you want to get that done before junior year. My personal experience, the last SAT that I took was the August as my junior year was starting. And that was the SAT that I ended up submitting to all of my classes. So I spent all of that summer prepping and then I got it done there. And I didn't have to worry about it for the entirety of my junior year or ever again after that summer. So, big recommendation, be done before junior year. And last but not least, when you're setting your goals, you want to set wise goals. You can't just say, I want that 1600. That's not a realistic nor a necessary goal that you should set for yourself. Obviously, aim for excellence, but aim for excellence while understanding what that means for you. Let's say you're trying to get into an Ivy League. Let's take UPenn, for example. Take a look into their average test scores. Take a look at their low end, their high end, and aim for their high end of test scores. And off the top of my head, I believe for Ivy Leagues like UPenn, you want to be in like 1470s to 1540s area. So that's, if that is your dream goal, that is your end goal, then that's going to be your goal for your SAT, ACT. Similarly, if you're trying to go to a different college, like University of Texas or any other college on that tier, your average SAT score is going to be about 1360 to 1420. So that's going to be your goal if that is your target college. Make these realistic for yourself so that you're not feeling discouraged and you can actually continue and understand that you have reached your goal, even if that's not a 1600. All right. Okay. And I know I'm talking a lot, and I am recording the session and I'll give you guys access to these slides, but just have your questions in the back of your mind and we will talk over that. Okay. All right. Next, your resume and extracurriculars. Before that, there is a question in the chat and they're saying, okay, does this include like OSHA certifications or CPR certifications? Okay, so in our previous slide, okay, we talked about certifications here. Yes, definitely. Any type of like official paperwork on that sort of thing is going to help you, because let's say you're trying to go into med or something of that sort, that certification is going to go a long way, because again, it shows that initiation. You're doing this while you're young. That's a responsibility that you're taking on, and to get any certification you actually have to pass a test, something of that sort. So that's credible. So yes, those definitely do count. All right. Okay. Resume and extracurriculars. One of the biggest things I'm going to tell you about this is you want to keep track of all of your activities. Before you know it, you're going to be in your senior year applying to colleges, and suddenly you'll realize that you've done a lot that you forget that you've kind of done throughout the years, right? And even within that journey, unless you're able to see visually for yourself what you've been up to, it can be really hard for you to understand what you still need to do. So one thing that I did for myself and a lot of other students that I've talked to is to have a running resume, right? Literally just a Google document or something of that sort, where every time you start something or you do something, just type it in there with a one-line description of what's going on. It does not have to be fancy, does not have to be formal, none of that. Just literally have a running track of all the activities that you're doing, okay? And this means everything. Let's give you my example, right? I applied to be in business analytics with some concentrations in computer science. So, sorry, I applied for business and computer science. Some schools I applied to some schools I applied to others. Now, on my resume that I submitted to these colleges, it wasn't just information on these that were on that. I had my entire music career on there. I had the times that I volunteered. I was a radio show host. I had that on there. And you would think that all of these are so irrelevant to the major that you're applying to. However, that is a very big misconception because these are all things that I've still used my time to do. And they show you, again, that word I told you before, transferable skills, right? Let's take something as random as being a radio host, for example. And how does that relate to computer science? Well, I was interacting with people that I've never talked to before. And even in computer science, you're going to encounter clients where you're going to have to understand what they need and translate that with your expertise into whatever code or deliverable you're trying to give out to them. So that interpersonal skill set, that is something that you can see from that experience that still translates, even though it's not exactly a computer science internship. So you want to keep track of literally everything that you do. And kind of as I was alluding to earlier, internships are not the only way to gain experiences. You can go through clubs and organizations in school or outside in whatever interest that you see fit. Volunteering is a huge thing. Service to community is a concept that not only shows that you have a sense of responsibility, but also empathy and are proactive in helping the community around you. And it can also show that you'll continue that in college. Leadership positions. How are you able to grow within your journey, start as a member, and maybe get to a leadership position? And what are you doing in that leadership position? How are you interacting with other people? And as we talked about certifications, courses, you can go on Udemy, Coursera, things of that sort, and you can do entire courses that can give you certificates. And obviously jobs, and jobs doesn't necessarily mean just like a computer science job or a job at a hospital, right? Because obviously those are much later down the line. But jobs can also mean literally working as a server at a restaurant, because that shows, again, responsibility, being able to keep track. Those are qualities that they're looking for, as well as externships, internships, as you can assume. And last but definitely not least, passion projects. Passion projects are huge. These are things that you're fully initiating by yourself or with other peers, and you're able to show that, hey, like I started this, or I joined this and I like created this of my own interest without anyone at school telling me to do it, without my parents telling me to do it. This was truly of my own heart and hard work. And these passion projects, you try to want to relate to the major that you're applying to. I'll give you an example. A lot of students that are trying to go on the pre-med track, they might create a nonprofit. I know one close friend that decided to start her own nonprofit and has a whole Instagram, TikTok, website, and everything dedicated to it. And they're promoting mental health awareness and bringing that education to the front. I know another high schooler that's currently a high schooler that has started a whole Instagram page and everything about Ayurveda and all of those benefits and fully showing that. And that connects to their pre-med passions. It's not curing cancer, it's not changing the world, right? But it is starting. It is having that initiation and showing that passion. Other things that you can do for computer science or engineering, taking on minor projects that you can find online. For coding, there's so many different leak code, things of that sort that you can do, or you can build a website. You can learn how to build a scraper. And for engineering, using the Raspberry Pi, building your own circuits, building your teeny tiny mechanisms, like nothing fancy, but just showing that you have that initiation and going forward. Now, all of this boils down to what characteristics does this show? You do not have to be impressive with the amount or the type of things that you do. You have to be impressive in the qualities that you're showing through these activities. It is very easy when you're on their side of college admissions to see all these words, and all these titles are just going to blur together in their heads. What they are going to take away from it is what kind of personality skill sets are being shown by this applicant. All right. Okay, I see that y'all have a lot of questions. I will address those towards the end of these. Okay, next we have essays. Essays, these are things that you're going to focus on your latter half of your high school journey, right? Think halfway through junior year is when you want to start thinking about these, right? Essays are going to be college specific. You're going to have two different types of things that you usually submit. One is your personal statement. That's going to be a 600 to 750 word essay. That's going to be more or less along the lines of what is your story and how has your high school journey shaped you into who you are today? So that's one big essay that you're going to write that's going to be standard across colleges. And then you're going to have supplementary essays. These supplementary essays are going to be not just college specific, but also program specific, like your major and things of that sort. Um, and one thing that you can do for yourself, like junior year, because like they change these essays every year, but more or less a lot of them stay similar or the same. By the time you're in junior year, you're going to create your college list, as I'll talk about next. And after you create your colleges, create yourself lists of essay topics that these colleges have asked in the previous years and kind of just start thinking about how you can answer them. But until junior year, right, you can start this as early as freshman year, even middle school. Start writing these essays. A lot of common prompts are going to be things like, what was, so you have your why your major essay. That's a lot of things that people are going to ask. What is a moment that you failed and you learned from? How do you want to change the world or something like that? What kind of impact do you want to create on the world? And all of these questions, if you just read them and you start thinking about them that way, then eventually down the line you're able to shape your experiences to answer those questions. And definitely remember that this is your voice that you're wanting to do. It is so easy for them to detect ChatGPT or any other AI presence because you're going to sound like the hundreds of other applicants out there that decided to do the same thing. You want to be original. You want to show your personality through these essays. Who are you? All of the other parts of an application kind of show, like, very generic things like these are the coursework, these are the standardized scores, blah, 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 blah. But this is where you get to share your personality and who you are and why you're a good fit for this college. All right. And second to last, we also have recommendations. As soon as you enter high school, you really want to keep healthy connections with everyone from the very beginning. You never know whose recommendation you're going to seek or want. However, whenever you choose someone to give your recommendation, one, think about relevancy, right? If I'm applying to a computer science major, I want to ask someone in the CTE department, right? I want to ask maybe my computer science teacher or someone else that I know in that domain as one of my recommendations. Same thing with, let's say, pre-med or pre-law. Like, make at least one of your letters relevant in that way. And then your second or third letter, you want to choose insight over prestige for. Meaning, it doesn't have to be the principal of the school or, I don't know, the superintendent or some like big fancy title. That doesn't matter as much as what can they say about you. Make sure you're choosing a person that knows you well enough, has worked with you possibly, so that they can fully give very detailed and insightful things about you. There's also a huge process behind college teacher recommendations and asking for them, like timelines, creating something called a brag sheet, and things of that sort. But those are lots of details. Just keep in mind you want to keep healthy connections and start thinking about who you're going to ask for recommendations from the very beginning. One tip I will leave you guys with is give them a forewarning. By the time it's your senior year, every single person is going to ask these teachers for recommendations. So if you're wise and you ask the summer before senior year, or even at the very end of your junior year for them to draft that letter for you so you can submit it later, they can do it with a lot more time and patience in their mind. So that is one thing that you can do to set yourself up for success. All right. And last but definitely not least, this has to do with your college fit and how to create your story. When you are researching what colleges, oh, by the way, research. You have to research on your colleges. The biggest mistake and regret that you can have for yourself is not knowing enough about the college market before you apply. right? It's not just the prestige. You can't just go by the ranking of the university, right? You have to go by the ranking of your major or program. You want to go by the quality. Look at the teachers that are there. What are their qualifications? Are you connected to them in some way? Look at their combined programs. For example, at UT Austin, like if you're interested in engineering and business, they have a program called ECB, which is a combination of them both. The same thing at Berkeley, the same thing at UPenn, like things of that sort. You can have lots of combined programs with lots of different interests. See what credits they accept. See what the environment is. Is it in a city? Is it in the suburbs? Are the students there very laid back, or are they like very, very good at being opportunity driven, things of that sort? What kind of students are there? Take a look at co-op or internship placements. How many people are getting placed in jobs? What kind of recruiters or companies are coming to that college? So in terms of research, there is a lot of research to do with colleges, and never, and at no point is it too early to start. Just almost take it as a hobby. Just it can be as simple as following their Instagram and TikTok pages, because I know for a fact we're on our social media all the time, right? Just literally follow those pages and kind of just see what they're up to periodically. It doesn't have to be a sit down and you're researching everything, right? And when you're creating your college list, when you're creating your college list, I recommend, and lots of people do this, create yourself a safety, reach, and target list. Safety schools are with their stats right now. What are schools that you almost 100% know that you're going to get into, right? So these can be either a community college, a trade school, or something of that sort, right? Or even just like a lower, not lower end, but like, like a lower tier university for your level. Your reach schools are going to be your realistically, these are the colleges that I'm going to get into and I'm going to choose from. So they're going to be your skill set is on average on par with these schools. And then your target schools can be things like Ivy Leagues or things that are very hard for you to get into, but you still want to try because that is a dream or an aspiration. And you want to do a 2-4-2 ratio, at least 2 safety, at least 4 reach, and at least 2 target schools. And obviously you can build from that. But my recommendation is to do 8 to 12 college applications. Anything more than that, and you're oversaturating yourself. I know some people that go ahead and apply to like 30 colleges, which later they're going to tell you that was not necessary. Keep it from 8 to 12, and that's a happy medium. And last but not least, a big insider tip, LinkedIn is going to be your best friend. One thing that I did, and I recommend so many people to do, is let's say I wanted to get into NYU. I want to get into NYU as a college. I'm going to search that up on LinkedIn. I'm going to find students that go to NYU, and all you have to do is take one simple scroll through their activity section, and all of a sudden you're getting whole life stories on what people did to get to your dream school. And this can inspire you and help you understand what are things that you can do to be in the same position they are. So use LinkedIn to kind of understand what kind of students are there, what kind of opportunities they're being able to encounter there, and kind of get an understanding of how are you going to be fit for the college. And overall, all of these points that I've talked to for the past half an hour, right, all allude to one big thing. What is your story? You want to be able to show that everything that you've done has some sort of meaning to it, right? How are all of your different aspects and things that you've done coming together to show one aim towards one major or college or something of that sort? How are you showing that you're growing throughout the years, regardless of what you're in, to show that you're going to grow when you're at college? Remember that when you get to college, you're not just a student, right? You're probably going to have a job or an internship. You're going to have to balance a social life. You're also going to have to balance living on your own for the first time. You're cooking for yourself. You're living by yourself. And these are all so many added layers on top of just being a student. And if you're not well equipped to be a multitasker, to do so much more than just academics, they don't have the confidence that you're going to do or have what it takes to thrive in college and make sure that you're giving back to the college informs more than just grades. They want to make sure that when you're coming to college, you're joining their student organizations. You're getting these internships and bringing those back to the college and recycling them for more students to come. Their wealth is not just in their offerings, but also in the students that they procure. And you want to make sure that you show them that you are deserving of that. And like, the college is deserving of you, right? So, all in all, you just want to make sure that your story is one that you resonate with. You have some sort of a passion, a community that you serve, and the skill sets to be able to serve in a good capacity. And that is kind of the big overview of what I wanted to go over today. I can take up questions at this time, but really quickly, I just wanted to, I'll put this link in the chat too. Feel free to scan. I want to host future sessions of this sort, right? And I just want to make sure that I'm doing this of y'all's interest. So in this Google form, there's just going to be a bunch of different topics. If you click what you're selected in, I'll take a look at what y'all are interested in and talk more about that. All right, I can put that in the chat, but all right. Okay. Let me get to the Zoom page and we'll take a look at questions. All right, I'm gonna go through the chat first, and then I see a couple of y'all have raised your hands. That's the best probable way that I'll get to you next, right? So go ahead and raise your hand and would hold on. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording at this point and I will send this to you guys later.